Well, first, what are activity trackers? That might be totally foreign to some people, but I'm pretty sure everyone's heard of Fitbit. So a Fitbit is a type of activity tracker. And there's so many different ones. There's lots of ones that you can choose from, but there's Fitbit. I use the Misfit Ray. That's the one I use.
Pedometers.
Yes, yeah.
Like Barb, I was using a Misfit, but now Garmin, and this thing it's pretty rugged. I like it. Everybody was into heart rate monitors, and so Garmin was one of the forerunners in the market for heart rate monitors.
Garmin's tracker is Forerunner, isn't it? Or they're running. Anyway,
What's that?
Sorry. I have a Garmin Forerunner watch, so I thought it was funny that you just called them a Forerunner.
Oh, anyway. Did I?
Yeah. Garmin's one of the Forerunners, and I'm like, Garmin is a Forerunner.
And we're going to get into, most people think that, you know, you need to set a step goal every day, and it's like, get 10,000 steps a day. And that's a great thing to do. Much weight they lifted and how far they ran. They'll wear a chest strap and they'll measure calories burned and things like that. But what about all the other movement during your day? That also burns calories. This is one way to measure that, and it's through steps. And so that's the whole premise behind Fitbit and all of that, is to like try to get yourself to, so it's a no-brainer kind of thing. But we're trainers, and so we especially focus on the habit side of things, as Barb knows. She's sitting here like, yes. So there are other ways that you can use it to help you be wagon, or we're off the wagon. And sometimes that transition period between like you could just catch that spot, right? That's where these come in handy. Is that transition period of like right before you fall off the wagon. Most people, if they can catch themselves in that point when they're about to go off the wagon, they usually don't, but you have to be aware of it first. So there's two things habit-wise that these help, that will help you be more consistent over time. And one of the things that helps is your memory. Humans have a really crappy memory. Like, we think we remember things really well, but we really don't. So for instance, Barb and I, last year, we were going over like experiments with tracking cycles and things like that. And Barb, do you remember how like questions and answers about tracking your cycle, just the awareness of when does it start, when, just memory.
And I'm not aware. I have a terrible memory. And that's what, I mean, the discussion was always like, I don't know. I don't remember. Maybe not. Like, it was very like, I just don't pay attention.
Right.
I don't think I'm alone in that. I think that a lot of us don't pay attention to things.
No.
I mean, there's things that we do, but there's a lot that we don't.
Right. And we often even like remember certain things one way when it actually was another way. And that doesn't mean we're liars or anything. It's just the way our memories work. It just happens sometimes. So that's one thing that this helps, and I'm going to go over that in just a second. The second thing that it helps with you probably thought that you were a pretty active person, right? And then you start using
it was surprising to me, you know, because you always hear the 10,000 step thing. Like, that's a goal that a lot of people have, is kind of the catch all goal. But it was surprising to me. I'm like, there were days that I was way under that, and I do consider myself fairly active. And so it was kind of an eye opener as you start to see day to day.
people, especially when you're signing up for training, or you're even opening an account on something like MyFitnessPal, because you're like, I just want to know what I'm eating, or I want to start tracking what I'm eating. You open it up on there, and one of the questions that a trainer or a coach will always ask you, MyFitnessPal will ask you, category. It's sedentary, moderately sedentary, or moderately active, very active, or intensely active. And they always list examples of like office job up to construction worker kind of thing.
Yeah.
If you mess up that part, for instance, if you mess up that perception of yourself with a coach, or that perception of yourself with MyFitnessPal, your calories and your macros can be up to 600 to 800 calories off. And then people are wondering why they're not losing weight. And it's like, you're not as active as you think you are. Like, just because you're a mom doesn't mean you're getting all the activity. Like, moms
Kids
also
might be running around, but you're not necessarily running around too.
yes, yeah. We're also sitting in cars and we're waiting in doctor offices. Like, we're sitting a lot. So just because you're a parent doesn't mean you're active, but you're tired. So you can perceive that you're very active, but you're actually not. So those are two ways that these can really, really help. And we're going to tell you how to start using that and capitalizing on that. For one, the memory part is almost every tracker anymore has an app that goes with it that shows your data across time. So you can start to see like what your step average is, you know, throughout each week or across a month or each day. So how many steps are you at, Barb? Like average per week or per day?
Oh, per day. I haven't really looked at averages. I kind of range from around 10,000 to up to like 18,000, but it kind of depends. I run, you know what I mean? So on the days that I run, I can get like 20,000 steps if I go on a long run.
To have something quantifying your movement throughout the day, because nothing else is going to put a number on all the movement you're doing that is not exercise. And this is one way to do it. It's not the only way, but it's one way. And the nice part is the app that goes with it serves as memory. Check
Right, because like you said, yeah, the perception is, because I think oftentimes when we're mentally tired or emotionally tired, we forget that that isn't the same as physically tired or, you know, having had a lot of activity. It's totally a perception thing that we mix up.
Yeah.
So
Yes. And that's a great segue into the perception side of it, because there's something we know as coaches, that normally people who have trouble, and everybody has this problem to some degree. We all either over evaluate what we do or we under evaluate what we do. So we do this in all aspects of our life. Measure that somehow, my perception would be off. I'm sitting here thinking like I'm a terrible parent, but if somebody were going down the checklist of what a good parent, I might rate higher than what I would actually perceive myself as doing. So when that happens in weight loss, in a person trying to lose weight, that's where we have problems. And that is where a coach comes in handy, because you have that objective third eye view, and you have somebody looking at you who's not you, and you're probably either under or overestimating how much effort you're putting in, how much you're actually eating, how much movement you're doing. Your perception of what you're doing is always going to be a little bit off, but on days that are hard or days that are really good, you're probably going to be more inaccurate. I don't think people know that, is that you're looking for very accurate. So, Barb, I'll ask you this. And by the way, Barb and I have not talked about this before, so you're getting a very candid answer for Barb. And I'm going to tell you my very candid answer is that perception part is, if you can have something to to give clarity to your perception, you are actually more effective at what you do. So for me, I'm watching this over time. I've worn one of these for years. I know myself with this now because I've watched myself with this. I've watched my steps when I'm sick. I've watched my steps when I'm emotional. I've watched my steps when I'm depressed. I've watched my steps when I'm energetic. I've watched my steps when my kids are sick. Is you will start to notice patterns when you wear this, and that's what you want to look for in those steps. What do you step like when you're depressed? So for you, Bart, I don't know what it is for you, but I know for me, I can tell when I'm about to get depressed. Like, I've noticed it so much when my steps drop down below 5,000 for too many days in a row. I know I'm about to start having some really hard days. And I start looking at my sleep, and my sleep on the app starts getting shorter and shorter. And when I see my sleep going down and I see my steps going down, if I see about 3 or 4 days of that, I'm like, whoa, you need to get outside because something bad is coming, because you know, I've watched myself too many times. I know what's coming.
Low days, it's my low days mentally, starting to feel depressed, starting to feel overwhelmed. My overwhelmed days, that's when I start to slow down. And just because like activity is important to me, that's where I'm like, oh, I'm having low days. And it like snaps me out of it easier to check. Cause like every single night I'm looking at my steps, and I'm usually putting them into our Clever Pace leaderboard and things like that. So I'm aware of them. It's not that they're just tracking and every once in a while I look at the app. No, I look at it every day. And so it's helpful because then I'm like, oh, and then I see it and it helps me to pick it up. And then sometimes I avoid those down moments. Sometimes I don't, and then it stretches out, and it's just like this recurring cycle of like I'm down, I'm down, I'm down, I'm down, unless I snap myself out of it. But it does help to see it because, like for instance, daily activity, and I think that it's because I'm not looking at my number every day at night. Like it's correlated to paying attention to the number. And so I haven't had as much activity over the past 2 weeks without having that tracker going.
Like a step range, like you've noticed that your days without a workout are around 10,000 range, your days with workout are around 20,000, your days where you're low, where are those steps? Have you noticed the number?
Oh yeah, yeah. Those are my days when I'm more like 3,000 to 5,000. That's low for me.
Yep, and it's usually correlated. I'm the same way with my mood. If I'm down,
my mood and like how overwhelmed I feel. Like that's typically my problem. Is like, oh, I'm overwhelmed. I've got a lot going on, and I see myself shutting down. And it's not just shutting down mentally, but it's physically. Like I'm physically not moving as much as I start to allow that stress in. But the cool thing is when I notice that and start moving more, oh my gosh, I can handle life better. Like this is why like coaching is awesome. This is why I love personal training and exercise and all of this, because man, it does so much for you. Like it really helps in so many areas, not just in looking good or being toned or, you know, that kind of stuff. It helps mentally, and it just makes you feel so good. So it helps you snap out of some of the times.
Yes. And instead of like hitting a super hard rock bottom low, you can start catching yourself, which is nice, which goes back to what we talked about in the beginning of like, what if you didn't have to fall off? What if you knew before you were going to fall off that you're about to fall off? That's where this can come in handy. The more you're not falling off, the more consistent you are, and the more progress you make when you're not just pummeling all the time.
Yeah. pick it up. And then I see my activity increase and my mood gets better. So sleep is also one that I watch a lot with my activity tracker, which makes a big difference for me. I
Yes.
struggle if I
Yeah.
don't get sleep. So.
Yes. Yes. Before you had a tracker, were you as aware of these patterns, and were you catching them as quickly as you are when you're wearing the tracker?
No, in fact, I think I was chronically sleep deprived. And I think I, in general, had less steps and movements each day. And so it helped me to pay attention to it. And I mean, I have dealt with depression in my life, and I think a lot of it could have been avoided had I been moving more and sleeping more. You know, maybe not necessarily entirely, but could have greatly helped. Because once I started tracking these things, I noticed what my lifestyle actually was. And I think instead of like underestimating myself, I think I overestimated like how I was doing. I'm like, I'm great. I get plenty of sleep. I move enough. And it was kind of an awakening to see like, I can improve on those areas.
Yeah. Yes. And if you don't know, we don't change what we don't know. It's like that.
Right.
We always talk about that. We didn't know. It's like this helps block that. It helps block those errors that happen of what we didn't know. So
Yeah.
it's shed some light. And you've noticed, okay, I've got low sleep, I've got low steps, I need to intervene because I know what's going to happen next. How hard is it to bump up your steps? They have to overcome is building up a whole bunch of energy to spend it on workout. And they're like, I'm just so tired, I can't work out. So it's like the effort needed to overcome that, it's like it might be up here for a workout, it's like down here to get to 10,000 steps, like the effort needed.
Workout. It's not like a big, like you have to like dedicate half an hour or an hour to something really hard. It's not hard to just move a little. But then the thing too to remember is that when you're starting, track for, you know, a couple days, say, okay, that's a typical normal day for me. And then you see where your baseline is. And if you're at 2,000 steps, maybe 1,000 or 2,000 steps a day, it's not really realistic to say, I'm going to be at 10,000 every day from here on out. I mean, just start increasing. And as you get used to moving more, then you're going to probably enjoy it and want to move more. And so be realistic about increasing, and don't beat yourself up if you're not at 10,000 steps by day 2.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. Probably 2,000 to 3,000 a day. Prior to that, very quickly up across the month, and they were able to sustain it for about 4 weeks. But at about the 4-week mark, this person was complaining of shin splints, their hips were sore, their feet hurt. Side of it, this person refused to work out. They hated working out in a month, and this was the only thing they changed was steps. So it's like, this is more powerful. Your movement in the day is more powerful than you realize. And I think that's something I personally love about our training is like, we literally, the same kind of training that personal trainers do during a workout in Clever Pace, we take that same approach to your NEAT. We're literally going to show you what to do, how to do it, the right ways to do it so that you don't get sore, so that you can keep sustaining this and it's not hard. But
right, and it can just fit right into your life. Like it's not, yeah, it's clever.
Yes, yeah, I love that about what we do. Like, I personally love it. It's one of my favorite things about our coaching. So I hope this helped. Barb, is there anything else you want to add in about the perception and memory help that this gives?
No, but I do want to comment on Twyla's comments, how she was saying it's just a big
Oh,
cycle. As you're saying, like the sleep and exercise and mood, it's all a cycle, and it tends to like be this downward spiral. But having a tracker and paying attention can help kind of stop the downward spiral, and you can turn it around and start moving upward. I just think there's power in knowledge, and so the data that you get from it is powerful, and it's something that you can just add in and increase and watch and pay attention to, and you don't have to think about it. It's just all right there on an app. And so I love, once I started using an activity tracker, I'm like, this is awesome, and it's kind of fun, and you do notice a difference as you catch yourself going down, you can move yourself back up. So
yeah, and just like what you were saying is, you can't change a lot of that cycle. If it's, you're gonna forget that it even happened. It's writing it down for you. All you have to do is walk and wear it. That's it. It's keeping record. It's like journaling with your steps. I mean, how easy is that? So yeah, cool.
Anyway,
so hopefully this helps.
Yeah, if anyone has like their favorite activity tracker that they're using, or cool things that they've noticed as they've been tracking and paying attention to steps or activities or sleep with theirs, add it to the comment, share with us. We can all learn and benefit.
With these, and I won't be the spoiler, was willing to come on to explain how these work, because I think you guys would probably like to know, because it's really cool. And if you don't have one of these and you just have a phone, like an iPhone or an Android, guess what? The same technology that's in this is in your phone. So it's called an accelerometer. And so I was just going to show you, you can actually download apps. See how I'm moving this iPad?
Yeah.
It's measuring the movement the same way that this is. So if you stick your phone in your pocket, you have a tracker. So turn on your health stuff for it, and we'll have